Right, what's the latest on Corey Robinson, and then how does that impact what you ultimately do with Alizé Jones?
Corey had a meeting with Dr. Kutcher, who we feel is one of the best. I hate to use the term concussion specialist, but somebody that is regarded as one of the best in the country in head injuries, and his family was with him, and I think it was a extremely educational meeting for him. I'm very hesitant to go into the details because I think that that's a private matter for Corey. But I know this, that he came back feeling really good about the meeting, and I think a decision will be forthcoming relative to what his future is. But it was great that we were able to get him with somebody with that kind of knowledge, and I know he feels a whole lot better about that meeting. As it relates to Alizé, we're gonna obviously he's got multi-dimensional opportunities. He's a big-time athlete that can do some things for us. My preference is to find a place for him, and if that means playing him a little bit outside, then we'll accommodate him, and especially tomorrow. We're a little thin. Nick Worcester's got a high ankle sprain, so he's not going to be able to play tomorrow. So we're going to have to play him in at some of the tight end position as well, but we'll get him out at the W position and give him some snaps out there as well.
Does playing him at the W still give you the mismatches that you hope to create when he was a tight end, or if he is a tight end?
Well, I think so. It still comes down to the ability to run after the catch. It still has the ability to go up and get the football. He's got really good speed at that position, and so he definitely can help our football team at that position. Does he change the complexion of the football team? No, but he gives us more depth at that position, and he's a guy that can certainly make some plays. So is he Michael Floyd at the W position? No, but he definitely gives us some more playmaking ability there.
How has Jacob Matuska transition gone this spring?
It's gone well. He's been a little bit slowed with a shoulder injury, but I think he's transitioned well. The one thing that he surprised me with, Al, more than anything else, is his ball catching ability. He's got soft hands. He can catch the football. I thought that was going to be the biggest transition for him. He's big, he's strong, and he really wants to play the position. So I think he's going to, by the time we get to the fall, I think he's really going to be able to help us as an inline tight end, and very serviceable in the intermediate pass catching duties of that tight end position.
And what will Durham Smythe be coming back add to the production at tight end? I mean, how different will it look this year compared to when he wasn't available last year?
Well, I think he gives you that guy that you can count on in the middle of the field that at times we lacked, other than just with the wide receiver on the intermediate dig routes. So to have that guy that sits down over the ball, that guy that can be a check release player for you, as well as somebody that can get to the backside of the hash, I think he's going to be that guy for us that we really didn't have at times. So he's going to be instrumental. Look, he had 2 injuries that we got to understand that he's coming back from, and this spring has been gaining confidence. And I think more and more as he's played, he's gained more confidence in his injury rehab.
Is there a timetable with Robinson as far as his
I think he understands that he's got to make a decision here pretty quickly, because we're going to go right into weight training next week. We're going to go. They'll have some time off in May, and then we're back at it in June. So my expectations is that we'd have something here within the next couple of weeks.
Didn't notice Grant Blankenship.
Yeah, he's been suspended from the team.
Will he be back?
That's yet to be determined.
You feel why?
just violation of team rules. The standards that are set within the program have not been met. I'll meet with him after the spring game, and we'll decide what the course is from here on out.
Brian, when you're trying to work through developing leaders on the defense, how do you maybe try to force it out of guys while not pushing them into being people they necessarily aren't?
Well, each day you're presented with certain challenges that your players have to take hold of, whether it's holding other players accountable for how they practice or off the field, and whether they're playing bookstore basketball and they shouldn't be. All of those things, fall on developing leadership within your program. And I think it becomes a fluid situation. So the answer to the question is that those just happen naturally instead of pushing them. I'm not pushing anything right now. I'm just letting it happen naturally, and then those leaders kind of select themselves, if you will, to hold our players to the level of accountability. And then once we start to see that take place, then we start to work with those guys that have that natural ability.
It's pretty common for spring especially when you lose, 5 captains from the year before and so many other seniors.
Well, this is common in terms of that scenario. Other years you have a bunch of guys that are already, you have a Nick Martin who's a returning captain and a Sheldon Day who's a returning captain. You can lean on those guys in these transition years. When you don't have anybody with that kind of experience, this is what it feels like. You feel like you got a lot of work to do in that area, and I do, but we'll get there. But it's not something that I'm pushing right now. I'm trying to let it happen, and then we'll get our hands on it in June, and we'll get our hands on it in July and August, and get to where we need to be.
All right, we're going to get our first chance to talk to Montgomery and Gorder later today. What kind of quarterback is he? What kind of teammate? What kind of sense of humor maybe does he have to have given his situation?
Well, you'll enjoy the conversation. It'll be one-sided, so ask one question and be prepared to take notes. He's a great kid, coach's son, knows the game very well, very smart, adds a lot to our room, and when I say our room, the quarterback room. As a signaler, knows our offense extremely well in all facets. So very knowledgeable. He's not the most skilled quarterback that we have, but he's the most determined, and he's found a niche for himself as our holder. But he's well respected, well liked by everybody on our football team.
Frank, Coach Van Gorder called Jonathan Bonner one of the more improved defensive players over the last couple of years. What's your perspective on that, and how do you see his role as you move forward?
Isaac Rochelle is going to need a blow, and that big end position is really important for us, not only in future development, but this year for, giving Isaac a blow, because he's a guy that we're going to try to play as much as we can. So Jonathan's development is crucial. He's an extremely gifted athlete, but putting weight on, getting stronger has been very important. He's very conscientious, very disciplined player. Has a lot of traits that we like at that position because he's a very disciplined player. So his development has been needed and one that we've really seen this spring. And Jay Hayes has done the same thing. He's been a guy that has really stood out for us as well. So, both those end positions have been one that have been, for me, probably the most satisfying development pieces for us in the spring.
Kareem as well, right?
Kareem Khalid has done a great job there as well, and we think Dalen Hayes is going to be able to do a lot of things. We haven't put him in contact, but just watching him, we think that the development of the end position has been a big plus for us.
And does Bonner give you the confidence that then you can comfortably bump Rochelle inside in situations?
Oh, without question, we think that moving him in pass rush situations is going to help us like we did with Sheldon Day. We can move him around a little bit. That's going to help us a lot.
And Miles Boykin seems to present a pretty inviting target for quarterbacks on those intermediate routes. What do you need from him going forward in the summer at that W position?
Consistency. Just, he's at that threshold now where he knows what he's doing, he knows what the expectations are, and now it's consistency of ball catching, consistency in route running. He's just at that phase now where, now it's not too big for him anymore. He's not wide-eyed. Now it's just about how can he be consistent as a football player. And when he gets to that level of consistency, you'll see more and more of him. He's not consistent enough. When he does get to that level, he'll play more football.
Brian, with Dexter Williams, is there a role that he can fill better than what Tarian or Josh Adams can, or do you see him just more as a traditional third back, reps here or there?
I think what we like about Dexter is his physical inside downhill running. That to me is where he's impressed us in the spring. We've had some goal line short yardage runs where when he gets his pads down, he's an explosive inside runner. That's where right now he's impressed us the most. Look, we love Josh Adams and the way he hits the ball outside. We like Folston's shiftiness inside, but we really like the way Dexter has shown himself to be explosive downhill in some goal line, short yardage, and I'm not trying to make him sound like, a 250-pound back, but he's been very explosive and downhill with his pads down when he's assertive and he knows what he's doing.
Is that new for him?
Well, I think what has been more apparent than anything else is that he's very comfortable now running inside zone and comfortable with the steps. Our outside zone is some of it's read, some of it's being consistent with the steps. I think he's finally comfortable with our inside zone package where he can hit it and really trust it, and I think that's where we'll start with him.
Coach, how big of a weekend is this just outside of the football on the field? I mean, it exposes the program to a lot of people who maybe don't get a chance to come during the regular season.
Certainly, and the weather's going to be great, so it opens it up to more people to get in, to see the stadium, what we're doing with the stadium, the development of that. But as I told our team, more importantly, look, we got a lot of guys that are going to step into some roles that they haven't been in before, and I want them to treat this like a game situation. This is not a just a glorified scrimmage to them. They better be focused and locked in. I want their demeanor to be such that they're getting ready to compete in a game. That's why it was important for me to get this to be, a blue versus gold and not the offense versus defense. And so my feelings are that, the importance of having a big crowd and having a great day will only add to really seeing the demeanor of these young guys as they step into more important roles.
How have these games changed through the years? I mean, Brady Quinn's coming back, Lou Holtz, and it's kind of a celebration of football where maybe 20 years ago it was more of a practice game.
Winners coming back, right? Ryan Harris, David Bruton are going to be honorary captains for the game. So, for me, I've always tried to get this game to be as realistic as possible, given what your roster looks like, because I think you got to take advantage of. I don't want, for example, Niles Morgan, right, who's going to be probably the starting middle linebacker unless something crazy happens. I don't want to find out what he's like at Texas. All right? Let's find out what you're like in the locker room tomorrow, and so. And he's just one example of a number of guys. And tomorrow is that opportunity, and that's why we try to create the scenario that way.
By creating the scenario, how does that affect Deshaun and Malik?
Well, that's why I got them on two different teams competing against each other. Both of them want to be the starter, badly.
But I mean, how does putting it into this game atmosphere, how does that help them out with audibling under a little bit more pressure or something?
Yeah, so look, I made them both live, right? So they're going against each other. I'm doing it for a reason because I want them to be in a competitive situation where we can evaluate. We split the squad. We try to, we try to get them balanced as best we could, and let this be one more evaluation tool for both of these guys in this game. It's important to them. And for us to make it offense versus defense, and they're in red jerseys, I don't know how much you get out of that. So part of this is for the quarterbacks and giving them this fair chance to really lead their team and distinguish themselves in the game.
Where are you with the development of the attitude or culture of the special teams on what you want to establish in September?
I believe this has been the best special teams development that I've had since I've been here. And devoid of being able to be outside and catch the football the way we've wanted to, the elements of blocking, tackling, structuring it, we brought in some coaches to talk and clinic. We've had competition and drills. I really feel that this has been our best spring in focusing on the areas that we wanted to get better at, and having a clear understanding of where we're going into the fall. The only thing that's uncertain now is who's going to catch the ball back there. And we can sort that out early on in August. It was the other areas that we really wanted to hone in on, and I think we did a very good job of that.
Do you have anybody that's like a player on all four teams, not a returner or anything, but somebody who's a special teams specialist almost?
Certainly, if you look at some of the guys that we have, the point leaders for us today that we awarded, Cole Luke was number 1, Devin Butler was number 2, and Josh Adams was number 3. So those 3 guys stood out in terms of what they were able to accomplish for us in special teams. So those 3 guys will be centerpiece to what we're doing.
Ryan, you had a handful of your June enrollees here today, Dante Vaughn, Jalen Elliott,
Yep.
some other guys. How much do they get out of being around the team just for a short period? And do you have you already kind of mentally plugged some of those guys in as possibilities?
Oh yeah, I think all of those defensive players are coming in with the attitude that they're going to compete and have a fair chance to get into the 2 deep. And that's what we've told them. That's how we feel. And they're here with their eyes wide open. They're in meetings, and they're certainly excited and anxious about coming in here and competing in their first year. So that's our expectation. I don't think Ian Book's here thinking that he's going to start, but I think Ian Book's is here with an excitement that he can't wait to get on the field to compete. But those other guys, I think, that we talked about relative to defensive players, they're here to go play right now.
Do you have a regular scoring system?
Yes, regular scoring system. The only tweaks in it, we'll back off on some pressures. We won't tempo as much. We're going to slow it down a little bit. We're not going to use 2 tight ends. I think from an offensive standpoint, we'll just kind of slow it down a little bit. And from a defensive standpoint, we won't be quite as aggressive with pressures. But everything else will be traditional scoring across the board.
We talked about some of the surprises on defense with the defensive staff earlier this week. Offensively, if you had to name like the most improved players.
The most improved offensive player? Boy. I probably would put Dexter up there. I would say that Hunter Bivin would have to be up there. And I would probably put, it's hard to really stamp those linemen because, they're all, taking first team reps. But I mean, if you ask me, about another particular player, probably I would say, at the wide receiver position, just because of the volume that he's gotten, is Torrey Hunter. I mean, he's done everything, X, Z, W, J, whatever we've asked him to do. He's developed his game as more than just an inside receiver. He's had to play outside, inside, so he's developed more ball skills, more awareness of his position than probably any one receiver.